Senator Reeves, are you ready to read your bills?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have for the committee Senate Bill 861.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, this bill is stemming from an issue in my district that's been going on in a community called Lake of the Woods. And I've tried to stay out of this situation as much as possible and try to let the homeowners association and the residents work it out themselves. But I've received hundreds of calls, letters, emails. So this bill is an attempt to try to figure out a resolution to that. I do have a number of folks from Lake of the Woods that can probably articulate a little more about what it is that's got them fired up into a fever and where they are with relation to the homeowners association. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I would ask if you could set a time limit on this, because I know there are a lot of folks, but I'll just let Mr. Bruce Kay come up, I think, first and articulate what's happened, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Yeah, let's give each side 5 minutes. So. Welcome.
It's not this. I've got some handouts they can give. Chairman, committee, thank you for your time. Addressing Senate Bill 861 today. My name is Bruce Kay. I retired from Hughes Aircraft Company as an operations manager for major programs. Carolyn and I moved to the lake in 2004 and became active in the community. I was elected to the board of directors in 2007 and elected president of the association in 2009 and 10. In 2009, hopefully some of you will remember this, the association was under state mandate to replace our dam spillway at a cost of $6 million. The board had to do the assessment for the board had to do an assessment for the funds. At that time, the board decided to do a special assessment. And why did we do this? It was to preserve the members' rights under the Property Owners Act of Virginia, that even though if the assessment was rescinded, the lake would have to be lowered and damage our property values. I worked with DCR and Soil and Water Board in 2009 to try to change requirements to no avail. In December 2009, I contacted Senator Hawk and had a placeholder made so that we could do something in 2010. We were able to produce Senate Bill 276, 2010 Dam Safety Bill, and successfully received Senate and delegate total approval. Thank you very much again. Saving the Commonwealth over $250 million in repairs that would have to be made, and the association in $6 million, and ensuring that we would have safe dams. The Lake of the Woods is a community in Orange County, gated community of about 2,600 acres, consisting of 4,256 lots, containing approximately 3,800 homes. About 9,000 full-time residents with over 800 students attending Orange County School. There's a wide variety of members in the association, including young families, retirees, veterans, widows, widowers on fixed incomes, as well as affluent individuals. At the end of 2007, Delegate Nick Freitas requested a meeting with the board president of Lake of the Woods, the general manager, 2 association lawyers, another member, and myself to try and convince the association to do a referendum on this project. This was because so many members had contacted Delegate Freitas and basically said they needed some relief in this. Nick related these concerns to the board and to the attorneys at the meeting. And basically what it came down to is the attorney said, you can't do legislation to stop this. at any cost. The members pay the attorney but cannot speak or get advice from them because they work for the board, not for the members. And this means the members would have to foot an additional attorney's bill to defend themselves against attorneys that they're already paying for to help the association. I've come here to support SB 861, which would limit the ability of the board of directors to approve capital projects over $1 million without getting approval of the members. Why do this bill? Why not do this bill? It will not stop any operational requirements such as road maintenance, infrastructure, and other maintenance required. Example, Lake of the Woods spends almost $1 million annually just to maintain their golf course. How could this happen that we don't have any more property rights? You say, aren't there rules to protect the members? We could do a petition, which we did, and we turned this in on January 16th. There's almost 1,000 signatures there, and we're waiting for results from the committee. The other thing is special assessments. If the board had called for a special assessment, the community would have 60 days under the Homeowners Protection Act to rescind that. The other thing is to elect different board members. In the last few years, 2 board presidents and several directors have resigned for various reasons, and they were replaced by the sitting board's choices. Senate Bill 861 is our only hope for the members in the association and in Virginia to protect their property rights.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one question? Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to know how many residents are there in Lake of the Woods, just so I have a reference point. I get a lot of emails from your development, even though I live hundreds of miles away. So I have no idea how many people live there,
There's
though.
4,256 lots, so there's that many owners. We have approximately 9,000 full-time residents and probably the equivalent in part-time residents that commute.
And one more question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
So the petition has about a little over 1,000 signatures. Is that right?
That relates to the 4,256. Only 4,256 lots are allowed to vote. There's 1 vote per lot.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that.
Just one real quick thing. I gave Bryce a handout. It shows at our last meeting on the 16th when we presented it, general board meetings, if you get 20, 25 people, you're lucky. We quit counting at 350 at this meeting. I'm sure it was over 400.
Any other questions, committee? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Did you wish to speak on the issue? Okay. In support or in opposition?
Well, I am a member of the Lake of the Woods Association. I'm Dr. Balzano. I would like to submit a written 3-page testimony for you, but I'd like to make one comment, if I may.
Sure.
We're here today to talk.
Did you identify yourself as?
Oh, I'm Dr. Michael Balzano.
Okay.
I live at Lake of the Woods.
Okay.
I have 3 properties there. We are here today to support your bill because we seek to have someone look at what's happening at this lake. We have a board that is preparing to borrow $5+ million without any approval. They will not seek a referendum because overwhelmingly it would be rejected and they know it. We are here today for a small association, but our issue is much larger. I have been on the phone with your Commonwealth attorney and the ombudsman, and all of them have said, well, they've basically become grief counselors because there's nothing they can do. The law will not help them. One prominent member of the community just wrote an email to everyone saying, we need to keep government out of our private business. Now, I would submit to you, sir, that is the absence of government oversight has created the vacuum that has created the situation we have today. HOA boards are now sovereign. They are the state, not you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here in opposition to Senate Bill, whatever, 861. All right. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I'm Pia Trigiani. I'm here on behalf of Community Associations Institute. I'm a practicing lawyer in Northern Virginia. We routinely represent common interest community associations, developers, and homeowners in community associations. We are indeed opposed to the legislation. I know that there are several members of the Lake of the Woods Board who are here today, and their manager who can speak to the specifics of the issue which gives rise to the legislation. But a couple of things, points that we would like to make. These common interest communities are private entities. They are not public entities. They are driven and limited by their documents, and the documents establish the parameters of the authority, not only of the association, but of the board of directors. The board of directors is elected. It's a corporate board of directors. They're a non-stock the association is a non-stock corporation. We attorneys who represent these associations do not represent the board. We do not represent the manager. We represent the entity, the non-stock corporation. So in making these decisions and in providing advice to common interest communities, we look at it from the perspective of the corporation. Associations and boards of directors, again, are limited in their authority, and it's driven by what's in the documents and the scope of their authority. That includes expenditures. Traditionally, the legislature has not gotten into the detail of limiting expenditures and addressing for associations the scope of their expenditures, because these communities vary in size very substantially. The largest, of course, is Reston Association with over 20,000 homes. It's the second largest in the country, and it ranges down to 2-unit condominium unit owners associations at the beach, in Virginia Beach, which is a pretty typical size. So the legislature has traditionally said the documents are in control. We can't, by the Constitution of Virginia, modify that existing contract, so we will not legislate in that arena. So that is one of the reasons, and certainly the primary reasons, why we rise in opposition to the board. I know that, to this bill, I'm sorry, and all due respect to you, Senator. There are several members of the board of directors, and I think Leighton Cummings, who's the president of Lake of the Woods, is here and will speak to the bill, as well as Phil Rodenheiser. We also have the presidents of several homeowners associations in Northern Virginia, Cascades, which is 6,600 homes, Stone Ridge, which I believe is 2,600 homes, and one other who may also want to speak in opposition to the bill. So I'd like to turn it over to Leighton Cummings.
Any questions of the
Yeah, I'm
witness?
glad to answer any questions.
All right, come on up. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senators. My name is Leighton Cumming. I'm president of the Lake of the Woods Board of Directors. And we appreciate Senator Reeves giving us this opportunity to discuss this bill. I am in opposition to the bill, and a good part of our board is also. We are in opposition because it makes it that much more difficult for us to maintain our community. Our documents mandate that the board of directors maintain the community. And you can argue about what that means, but in this case that was discussed earlier, we have a 50-year-old pool that we have been putting money into over the years. We have other facilities that are under discussion here that are part of that money that the gentleman earlier was talking about. And part of our obligation is to maintain that. So that is our reason for opposing this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm Phil Rodenberg. I'm the General Manager of Lake of the Woods Association. And with all due respect to our Senator, who we appreciate serving our community, we oppose the bill because we see it as hurting not only our association, but other large-scale associations across the state, hampering them from taking care of their normal responsibilities to take care of the maintenance and replacement of items. We're mandated by the state to do a reserve study every 5 years. That reserve study lays out the work that has to be done to replace items such as our golf course, our roads, et cetera. And if there was a project that was over $1 million, there would be some question whether we could do that project. If there was an emergency of some kind, there would be a concern that we would have to seek a member vote before we could repair something that we have insurance for. We're a very responsible association. Our bylaws allow for members to petition and bring matters to the membership for a change, and we believe that within our association we can handle these matters, and we ask that you would vote against this bill today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Greg Pearson. I serve on the Branimal Board of Directors. Branimal is a very large planned community with 3,800 homes. I'm opposed to this amendment of the code, feeling that it is an unnecessary restriction on orderly business of community associations statewide for the following reasons. The official documents of HOAs determine the process by which boards operate. The state should not overrule these provisions agreed to by the property owners. Those HOA documents undoubtedly outline steps to modify the board's authority over expenditures. If there is support within the community, it should be used to change the covenants without burdening all other HOAs in Virginia. Number three, like local, state, and federal governments, HOAs operate as a representative democracy. So the members of an HOA already have the means to effect change at the ballot box. Our attorney has advised us that the Branimal Board has the obligation to maintain our amenities or risk a lawsuit. Number five, as proposed, if the community suffered a hurricane or flood, repairs would have to be delayed until permission was gathered from the membership. And finally, number six, the Branimal covenants set a quorum of 20%. In the past 25 years, there has never been a vote that even reached 35%. Setting a minimum vote level of 50% as proposed is exceedingly high, so high as to prevent a board from meeting its fiduciary responsibilities. Common sense tells us there are far-reaching adverse effects on all HOAs because of this proposal, and I ask you to reject it.
All right, thank you. I see folks lining up. We have reached the time limit. Are there any facts that have not already been put out? So the issues, Amigo, give us the reasoning why no action has been taken by the General Assembly and passed legislation on HOAs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess the main issue has been that because it's considered to be a contract, a private contract, the legislature trying to change the terms of that contract would be considered a violation of the impairment of contracts clause of the Virginia Constitution. And that's the main reason that has been set forward.
And I would assume that that would mean we would be in court for the next half dozen years.
Well, I mean, just to be fair and balanced.
You can answer, say yes, amigo. It's all right.
There are provisions in the bill that do defer to the declaration. I think and on line 12 where it says except to the extent that the declaration specifically states, and then there's a prospective aspect to it. So there are some attempts to prevent the impairment of contracts issue, but.
Senator Reeves, with your experience in the military, can't you order these two sides to get together? And
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be anywhere else but at this dais right now. But I will tell you what I did find out. The 1,000 signatures are there. Phil just told me that they're going through those signatures now and that there'll be some resolution to the signatures on February 3rd. And I certainly don't want to violate the Constitution, and Amigo's a pretty good attorney, which I'm only a practicing attorney in courts of justice. So I don't know if there's a compromise we can find here, maybe through the Housing Commission or something as this process continues. I think with the parties that are here today, I think there might be a willingness to get back to the table and try to figure this out. But you know, Mr. Chairman, as we all do, as we represent the various constituencies in our districts, it's those who yell the loudest sometimes that we have to listen to, and that's why I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I appreciate you looking out for your constituents. Any questions from any member of the committee? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion, if you don't mind penning a letter to send this to the Housing Commission. I'd like somebody to look at it. So in those situations where we do have cases where HOAs maybe could be a little heavy-handed, I'm not saying that in this case, and we have a constituency that's fighting against that, there might be some grounds that we could look at.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we pass this bill by indefinitely with a letter to the Housing Commission asking them to take a look at the impact that this would have on HOAs across the state.
Okay. Properly moved and seconded. Senator Eppen, did you have?
Just briefly, Senator Barker and I represent parts of a very large association called Kingstown, and I represent a building on the Potomac, which is a smaller building, but has condos that they're $3-4 million, and I imagine it costs a lot to replace things there or to repair them to the style that that they're built in after they age for a while. And I just can't imagine how you could possibly get half the lot owners to do that in any condo. So I'm kind of, you know, let the Housing Commission have fun with it, but it seems like quite a puzzle.
All right. All right, you've heard the motion to refer it to the Housing Commission. No further discussion. Record your votes. All right, that action is agreed to at 14-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.